Hi everyone, and welcome back to the music reaction video. I appreciate you stopping by. And today, the song I've chosen to listen to is Lonely is the Word by Black Sabbath. And this is another song request and donation from Mike G4211, so thank you so much for the song request. And this one, he said that Tony Iommi has a really unbelievable guitar solo in this one. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that. But another reason why this song really interests me is because this is my first reaction on this channel of Black Sabbath with Dio on vocals. And that is definitely exciting because I've heard other Dio tracks. Actually, I've heard the title track for this record before. Heaven and Hell came out in 1980. And I remember in my formative years when I was listening to Black Sabbath for the first time, I used to think that like there's no way anyone could replace Ozzy. Like he's such an iconic voice. Like what would Black Sabbath sound like without Ozzy, right? But then I heard Heaven and Hell, the title track for this record, for the first time, and I was like, wow, Dio is crazy talented. Definitely surpassed any expectations I could have for a vocalist after Ozzy. So yeah, Dio, I've went on to listen to his other work in his own band before, like Holy Diver. I've also listened to his work in Rainbow as well. Just a superb vocalist. I honestly cannot offer enough praise to Dio, but I'm sure I'll be praising him more throughout this reaction video. But yeah, let's just get right into this. This is from 1980, and yeah, I'm quite excited to listen to this one. I believe this is the final track off that Heaven and Hell record, actually. So I wonder if we'll be able to pick up that kind of final track feeling while listening to this. But yeah, anyways, let's get right into it. And in the words of Jeff Walker, let's rock.
It's a long way to nowhere, and I'm leaving very soon. On the way, we pass so close to the backside of the moon. Hey, join the traveler if you've got nowhere to go. Hang your head and take my hand.
Okay, so one thing to point out already, I really love the bass, by the way. This bass sounds really nice. I can hear a little like slide, I think that Geezer does. Let's listen to that again. Right there. Yeah, I love that slide he does. Adds a lot of flavor, I guess, to the bass line. But yeah, to comment on Dio's voice, I mentioned this in a past Black Sabbath reaction video, but I'll mention it again. Dio's kind of different with Ozzy in that Ozzy tends to follow the rhythm guitar melody a lot in his singing, but Dio kind of uses his own melody a lot, and that's really unique in my opinion. And that's a huge contrast compared to Ozzy, in my opinion. And you can hear in a song like this, like his melody does not match the rhythm guitar like Ozzy does in songs like NIB or Iron Man and those songs. So that's a huge difference between Ozzy and Dio already. But yeah, let's listen more again. I really love his vocals. And you can hear Dio uses like a decent amount of vocal fry. Like listen to the way he kind of says like side here. Close to the backside of the moon. Hey, join the traveler if you've got nowhere to go. Hang your head and take my hand. It's the only road I know. Oh, lonely is the world. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So okay, so one thing I will say is that Dio does use these yeahs a lot, which Ozzy does as well, kind of as like fillers in his lyrics. He actually uses them even more, I think, in his live performances that I've seen. So that is like really cool fact about Dio, I think. And another thing that I was mistaken about in the past was I was under the impression that Ozzy had written the lyrics, or most of the lyrics when he was in the band. But actually, I learned from Mike G that it's actually Geezer who wrote most of the lyrics, the bassist, which is kind of surprising to me. But I guess that is quite common in a lot of bands where other members that are not the vocalists will contribute to the lyric writing. So that's a really cool fact. But I'm pretty sure that Dio writes that his own lyrics, which is another difference from Ozzy. So I believe this is written by Dio. his voice is so nice.
Come on, join the traveler. If you got nowhere to go, hang your head and take my hand. It's the only road I know.
Oh man, his voice is so powerful. I like how he chooses some words, he chooses to say them very, very aggressively or sing them very aggressively, and some words he chooses to like really kind of drag out and make it super melodic. Like it really, really showcases the versatility of Dio's voice in songs like these. Actually, I think another thing I learned about Dio in the past, I could be wrong about this, but I heard that he was actually never like classically vocally trained before. He actually learned most of his singing technique from I think trumpet or trombone, which he used to play in the past. One of those brass instruments, I believe. I heard he learned like his breathing techniques from for that he applied to singing later on when he became a singer from when he played trumpet or trombone or something like that. So that's a really cool trivia fact about Dio that I learned.
Hang your head and take my hand. It's the only road I know. Yeah, lonely is the word. Got to be the saddest song I've ever heard.
Wow, that was like such bliss to hear that Tony Iommi guitar solo. Um, I'm actually gonna play that whole thing again because I love it so much, as I usually do with Tony Iommi's guitar solos. But wow, that was really interesting. I'm gonna make some comments on the solo on the second time hearing about it, but he did the classic like double tracked guitars. He has two different lead guitars playing different things. It sounds really really nice together though. Um, that songwriting is honestly impeccable. Like to create two different guitar solos playing at the same time but make them sound like so in sync together. That's some really nice songwriting right there. But let's listen to that again. And this part right here, so one of the guitar parts, one of the lead guitar parts, it doesn't sound like he's like actually picking those notes. I could be mistaken on this because I'm not actually seeing him play, but it sounds like he's just hammering on those notes. Just like the way the notes they land, they sound like he's just like hammering them on, almost like he's kind of playing like a guitar or something. That's what it kind of sounds like to me. Let's listen to that again though. Obviously I could be mistaken about this, but it doesn't sound like he's like picking them normally like he does with other notes. Right there. Yeah, it's a really staccato like feeling, I would say. And it doesn't sound like he's like picking them normally, where you get like the kind of the notes ringing out more. Obviously, I can't say for sure without seeing him play those notes physically, but it's a really cool like sounding kind of way that he's playing it. Yeah. This just sounds so epic. Wow, I'd say this part specifically almost sounds like he's like improvising a little bit, like improvising a blues solo. Like this is like the kind of solo you would hear in like a blues club or something like that, I feel like. Really nice bends. Oh, you can hear him this here you can definitely hear him pluck the strings like super clearly and super sharply. Yeah. Definitely a lot of attack in his picking here. I like how it kind of took like a little break right there to kind of mirror what the rest of the instrumental was doing, what the rhythm guitar was playing. That sounds super nice. It sounds super epic right here, I have to say. Right there. Like the second half of this solo section, it kind of reminds me of like a movie soundtrack kind of, like where the final battle's about to occur. It's like the main character versus the final boss. Like I could hear this kind of music in my head, I feel like. Another solo. Oh, keyboard as well in the back. And it's a fade out. Wow. Okay, I'll let this play out to the end. Okay, this song kind of caught me off guard a little bit, I have to say. I was not expecting like this song to be like 70% Tony Iommi guitar soloing. I think this is the first track I've actually heard of Black Sabbath's where it's like mainly guitar solos. But wow, I'm not complaining about that at all because it sounded amazing. Let's listen to that second solo again. Um, the first half of the second solo was kind of, I feel like, kind of unique. It's one of Tony Iommi's more shreddy guitar solos. There's a lot of notes in there, but he kind of uses some really unique phrasing in there. Like he uses a lot of pausing in there to kind of keep you on your feet, I feel like. Like it has like a very staccato like feel. Like each note is like only there for like half a second or so, and then there's also a lot of pauses and stuff, which is really cool. Yeah, these solos really do sound like he's improvising these solos. Like just the general feel of them feels like he's improvising. And those random stops, like they really kind of build some anticipation for when the next note is coming. It's really cool. It's kind of like keeping you on your toes on what to expect next in the solo. Wow. And that band sounded really interesting. Right there, that sounded really interesting. It sounded like more than just one guitar string for sure. It sounded like he was hitting multiple strings while doing that bend. It sounded really interesting. Yeah, I have to say the first guitar solo section it sounded a lot more melodic, but then the second guitar solo sounded he was kind of like improvising like shred guitar a little bit, having a lot of notes in there. So that's kind of cool. We kind of got two different distinct sections where if you want melody, you kind of got the first section. On the second one, it's a lot more like shreddy. But wow, um, yeah, like I said, this song kind of caught me off guard. I was expecting a lot more vocals from Dio, but it was mainly actually just Iommi doing his soloing. Um, as for the lyric subject matter, I'm a little confused about what the song is about. Let me look through the lyrics again. Okay, so right here he says, "On the way we pass so close to the backside of the moon. It's a long way to nowhere, and I'm leaving very soon." So it sounds like whoever is talking, I guess Dio, is embarking on an adventure, and he's asking the listener if they got nowhere to go to come join him and take his hand. It's the only road he knows, and lonely is the word. So I guess it is kind of like embarking on your own journey is what I'm guessing. Um, Embarking on your own journey. where you're lonely and alone in this world, I guess, alone in this journey. Yeah, there's not that many lyrics to go off of, but that's what it sounds like. And like combined with the guitar solo, it definitely feels like that, like you're embarking on a journey. I can just kind of visualize like the sun setting. You're walking on a hill alone, and you're kind of just ready to go on a new chapter in your life, where it might be very lonely. It's kind of what I deduced from these lyrics. But yeah, um, that's my reaction to Black Sabbath. Lonely is the word. Definitely my highlight was the guitar solos, I'd say. But Dio's vocals, honestly, really amazing too. Um, like even though there weren't that many vocals in the song, from what I could hear, I really, really appreciated what I heard in the song. Like really powerful voice, really melodic voice at times as well. Um, and I've said it before, but I actually do prefer Dio's voice over Ozzy's. There's a debate whether Ozzy's voice is better for Black Sabbath's music, but in terms of just general preference for vocals, I prefer Dio's voice, and I really loved his duos in Rainbow and his own solo band as well. So yeah, that's my reaction to Black Sabbath's "Lonely Is the Word." Thank you again, Mike G, for the donation and song request, and I appreciate you watching this video.